Hey, oh, hey, what up, everybody? See dance for your mid-out. See dance because it's Friday. Let's go. Woo! Yeah, what's the vibes? What's the vibes? Let me know. It's Friday night, yo. Welcome to the show. Let's go. Let's go. Mixture of variety. Yeah, you know that we a menace to society. You want to come on the show? Well, we ain't hiring. All right, let me stop. Yo, welcome to the show, everybody. This is the one and only. You already know if you're tuned in. You already know what time it is. And maybe you don't, and you're about to find out. But if you don't know, you better ask somebody. If you don't know, you better Google us. And if you don't know, you better stay right here, motherfuckers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the hottest podcast on YouTube, point blank, period. And you will soon find out why. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mixture of Variety. I go by the name of Patient Zer0. Give it up one time, give it up one time. All right, yes indeed, yes indeed. Yes indeed. What's up, everybody? What's up, what's up? What's happening? What's cracking? What's popping? What's going down? Another week. We made it through, ladies and gentlemen. We made it through. Another week. And here we are. Couple announcements before we start. This is a special show. As you can see underneath there, this is a special show. We're going to be talking about sobriety today, and this is actually my story. My whole story. There's a lot to tell. Some of it I told on podcasts. Some of it I didn't. Maybe not the whole story. Today, we're getting to the nitty-gritty, and we're going to tell it all, and I'm going to let you know my story, and hopefully it helps other people, because we are all on this together, this sobriety journey, if you will. We're all in this together. It's a family disease. It affects friends. It affects everyone's around us, and especially it affects the addict, and we're going to get right into that, and hopefully, like I said, my story will help. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go into that, I want to make a special announcement as far as Nikki P will be joining the show next week. Yes, I know you guys. You guys have definitely been asking about her. And the thing is like, I know that I said on a previous show that she was not a part of the show, but still a part of the show. Well, she is still affiliated with the show, and she'll do a lot of behind the scenes stuff or whatever, but she just don't, you won't see her that often, or as much as you would like, as much as I would like. I would like to do the show. I would like to do every show with her, actually, but because it can't happen right now, I did want to make a special announcement that she will be joining us next week. Now, there's a couple audio shows as well that she's going to jump on, but that's to be announced. All right, so that's to be announced. So, welcome to the show. If you don't know what this show is all about, this is a YouTube podcast, and it is called Mixture of Variety. It's called Mixture of Variety Entertainment is the whole, everything is included. Sorry, I just had a stroke for a second. Everything is included. That's like the top of the pyramid. Mixture of Variety Entertainment stands for MOVE. Moving forward and never backwards in 2022 and beyond. We already hit a lot of hurdles, and regardless of hitting the hurdles and going through the hurdles and hitting these barriers and hitting these boundaries, that's kind of what it's about tonight. Regardless, we keep going, ladies and gentlemen. We keep going. We keep it moving. So that's really what this show is about. But at the same time, it is a variety show, so we can talk about anything and everything. Anything from mental health and addiction to having sex with gay midget aliens. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a show that you don't want to miss. We put the odd in pod. Come get lost in the mix. Okay? Now, with that being said, we have an audio show Monday and Wednesdays. Monday and Wednesdays are the new show. I'm not saying that there can't be bonus shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but as long as, as far as Mondays and Wednesdays, that's where it's at. Mondays and Wednesdays. 9 p.m. we go live on an app called castbox.fm, or you could just go on any browser and type in castbox.fm, and you can search for us under livecast. After 9 o'clock, it's going to show that we're live under livecast. Some people have problems finding us, but all you have to do is go to livecast. Make sure you find livecast and search Mixture of Variety. That's for the live show. And then if you can't catch the live show because shit gets in the way, kids gets in the way, work gets in the way, everything gets in the way, it's uploaded to every podcast platform imaginable. So wherever you listen to podcasts, that's where we're at, and that's where we're found. Okay, so Spotify, Apple, Breaker, Amazon, Google, the list goes on and on. Truly goes on and on. There's some that I don't even know about. But like I said, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we might have some bonus shows, so you gotta stay tuned for that. Sunday, we do a special show. Sunday is Sunday Spirituality, and that is a beautiful thing because it's kind of like a chance to reset and recover and rejuvenate from the week, and it's a perfect show to listen to get motivation and get inspired for the week to come. Okay, that is uploaded every Sunday at 10 a.m. Okay, so you can start your day off right. It's perfect day for a spiritual show because, you know, it's a spiritual day overall. And just because I'm wearing this doesn't mean we talk about religion. It's spirituality, 100% spirituality. And this to me is a form of spirituality. And this is a symbol of spirituality. It doesn't mean that I'm praying to Jesus every day. Some people think I'm weird for that, but either way, whatever you want to call it, Jesus, spirituality, I keep it around my neck, and we talk about it on Sunday, which is a perfect day to do that. Now, Friday is the main show. Friday is when we have our YouTube show, and for the most part, I would say 95% of the time, it's live, and if it's not live, it's going to be a live premiere, okay? Now, the live premiere is going to happen the same time as the live episode, so it's 9 p.m. Eastern, Friday nights. Okay, make sure you write that down. Make sure you set a little reminder. You know, if you have to get a little tattoo on your baby's forehead or something like that to remind you, either way, make sure you check us out because that's where it's at. 3 ways to find that show. I'm going to run down it really fast. 1, you can go to any browser and type in youtube.com/C, like channel, /Mixture of Variety Entertainment. One more time for the people in the back. youtube.com/C/Mixture of Variety Entertainment. Or you can just go to youtube.com or the YouTube app and just type in that search bar, Mixture of Variety Podcast, or even Mixture of Variety will pop right up. You'll see me and Nikki P. That's our channel. Click on that. Or you might actually see the Move logo now that I'm thinking about it. You might see the Move logo. See the Move logo, you'll see that we have 20 episodes on season 1, 20 episodes on season 2, 8 episodes on season 3. This is episode 9. I'm still undecided if I'm going to be considering it an actual episode for season 3 or if this is going to be a bonus episode. I guess you're going to have to wait and find out because this is not live right now. But when I upload it and when I premiere it on YouTube, that's when I'm going to have to make my decision. So I think it's just going to be a bonus episode, and then we'll continue with episode 9 next week. That's neither here nor there. Regardless, as long as you can check us out however way you can, definitely I recommend that you do so. Quick disclaimer, if you're listening for the first time, especially what we're talking about tonight, disclaimer is if you are hypersensitive or get butthurt easy, this podcast is definitely not for you. Sick and twisted dark humor, vulgar uncensored language, and politically incorrect conversations are just some of the things and fun you'll hear on Mixture of Variety, which means listener discretion is definitely advised. Now, can you imagine how many times I said that? We have over 320 audio shows. I've said that a lot of times. I just recently had it memorized like a couple months ago. So that says a lot about my memory. Anyway, where were we now? So that's what it is. A lot of people are asking about Granny. Granny is still a co-host of the show. She's still in the studio audience. She's just been kind of quiet. I think she's been sedative. You know, she's been taking a lot of sedatives lately, like even more than before, plus her regular illegal narcotics that she's taking. But she's doing okay. You know, she was in jail for a couple months. We couldn't bail her out. She was smuggling drugs into the nursing home, but she's still here and she's a co-host of the show. She still brings her 3-foot dildo to the show. Nothing has changed with Granny. If you want to find out everything that's going on with Granny, as long as she's out of jail, like if she's not in jail, she's on social media. So somehow she figured out IG, and her Instagram, if you want to hit her up directly, is at Granny Dildo on Instagram, at Granny Dildo. And the reason why she picked that name is because she has that 3-foot dildo with her all the time. As far as the illegal narcotics and illegal drugs and stuff like that she does, it just matches her persona perfectly because that's just what she is. And if you know Granny, that's just who she is. She also has gang tats head to toe. She is a complete hot mess, but we love her to death. You guys probably know the story. If you've been following us for a minute now, you know the story about Granny. Okay, now that's all out of the way. Where to start? Where to start? Where to start? Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a difficult but rewarding show. I feel like throughout this story of the next 50 minutes or so of me telling my story, it's going to be a roller coaster for me and for you. And it's probably going to be triggering, but it's something that I feel like I have to do. I have to do for myself, and I have to do for everybody viewing who is struggling with addiction. Anybody who catches this show by any chance, it's not by chance. There's no coincidences. You are listening to this right now, or you are watching me right now because of the hashtag sobriety or hashtag recovery, or somehow you heard of it some way, or how I promote the shit out of it. There's going to be a way and a reason. I mean, that you're gonna listen to this and watch this. So let's bring it back. Started using. Oh, and that's another thing too, I should say before I get started. This Monday, is 3 years. I didn't even say that, did I? This Monday, the 28th, is 3 years clean and sober. This Monday is 3 years clean and sober, which is a huge deal considering it is the longest that I've had clean and sober. It is the longest that I've had in my lifetime where I actually had a chance to get my shit together, get my mental health under control as best as I can. My mental illness, goes along with it. Mental illness is intertwined with drug addiction, unfortunately. There's like 95% of people that have drug addiction have some type of mental illness and vice versa. And I definitely am one of those people, Depression and anxiety, I feel like everybody has these days, but I do suffer from bipolar 1, and I do have PTSD, but only PTSD because of my drug use and the stuff that I've experienced through drug use. So, 16 years old, smoke weed for the first time. And then from there, I just continued to smoke weed, continued to drink, continued to do them both at the same time. I liked that it was able to give me some more creativity. I liked the alcohol because it took away my anxiety. I had severe anxiety. I still do have a severe anxiety. I even have anxiety doing the show sometimes. Sometimes, not all the time. Right now, I don't at all. Because I'm just speaking from my heart. And it is what it is. So I feel like a lot of people at that age, they're experimenting and they're seeing what they like, doing a little bit of this, dabbling in this, dabbling in that. No big deal. When I got a little older, I started doing ecstasy. And I was doing ecstasy like a fucking madman. I was doing ecstasy like double stacks, triple stacks, handful, like 4 or 5 at a time. Because I think after a while, my dopamine level just kind of like got really low and I just needed more and more. That's like every drug that I've ever tried. So even that, 19, 20, 21 years old, even that I still considered it experimenting because I kept a full-time job. I kept a social network of friends. I was maintaining life. I was still doing life activities. I was adulting or whatever, right? Never thought that there was a problem. Never thought that was a problem. I did start thinking and noticing that I was doing things at more excess than other people were. Any other people I was in my circle, I started doing like more than drinking more than taking more pills, smoking more weed. You know, I did notice that. Never noticed or thought that I had any addictive qualities at that time. So after that, I graduated to cocaine, and cocaine was fucking amazing. I don't know how YouTube is gonna block this whole episode or not if I'm talking about drugs. Should I talk about it like, should I say yay? Like yayo was really good. That was really, it was amazing. I felt like on top of the world. I felt like I had all this energy. I felt like I was, horny as shit, kind of like with ecstasy as well. My libido was through the roof. And that's all part of drugs and having fun with drugs is the libido situation. But with yayo, with coke, I would come down so quickly that it wasn't even worth it. You just had to continuously do a lot of lines, and that shit was expensive. Shit was expensive, dog. You feel me? So that kind of faded out pretty quickly. After that, ladies and gentlemen, I moved down to Florida from New York. And that definitely opened a bunch of doors. Opened a bunch of doors for me. I made some connects after a while of being down there, and I was taking even more shit. And then I started lying about it. I started making up stories like I wasn't doing this, I wasn't doing that. Lying to family and stuff like that, whatever. But then it came to the point where I just couldn't really stop, even in the days that I wanted to stop, or if I said like I would save this for tomorrow, I would never save it. I would do it right there. I would get high at work. I would get drunk at work. I would get high and drunk during family functions. If there was a holiday or something like that, I would be drunk and high. And to this day, I think they just thought maybe I was acting strange, or I was talking a lot, or I was falling asleep, whatever it was. I don't think they actually knew really what was going on. I don't think they knew really what was going on for a long time, for a long period of time. But either way, that was my life for a long time. And because of me being an independent artist in the music industry, that's the reason why I moved to Florida. But I had more directs and more connects. I had a really bad time, really difficult time coming out, because I came out of the closet in New York, and then I went back in the closet when I was back on this label, or when I got on this label. So that was extremely, extremely difficult. Didn't really know how to handle that. Wanted to make music. Wanted to use more than making music. And that was kind of a downhill spiral. I was in a bad relationship. The relationship consists of me bringing some narcotics to the table and him bringing some narcotics to the table. And we would do these drugs, and that would be our relationship. Do our drugs, mess around a little bit. That would be our relationship. And that was my relationship for a long time. It was my first serious relationship, and it didn't really get any better. It was chaotic. There was cheating. There was fighting. There was cops called. There was, disappearance. Like my ex like disappeared for 3 days. He was messing around with a cop, and there was just a lot of things. So it was like it was kind of everything came to a head, and everything escalated pretty quickly in 2009, because 2009 the relationship was finally over because I can only take so much. And then this whole thing happened with the disappearing, and he was hooking up with a cop and all this stuff. And at the same time, I was kind of done making music because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't rap about making, hooking up with girls, or, club bangers, or even just being in the studio and just mad girls around. Being in the club, mad girls around. Video shoots, mad girls around, and having that pressure. It's having that pressure to like, why don't you go talk to them? Why don't you go do this? Why don't you go do that? It's like, no, but I really have no interest in that. But I couldn't say anything. I was deep in the closet. So at the same time, when I actually decided like I can't do this anymore, I told the label, and to this day, I don't think that was a good idea. It wasn't something that I felt like it was. I felt like it was the right thing to do. I didn't feel like, oh, I have all this pressure off of my shoulders now, and I have all this weight is lifted, and I feel so refreshed. I feel open now. No, it wasn't any of those feelings. It wasn't any of those feelings. It was nonstop hate speech. It was nonstop threats. I'm talking about the worst threats ever that you can imagine. Stuff that I'm not going to say because then I know I will get a strike on YouTube. Just imagine the worst of the worst talking to this artist that after being on the label for 4 or 5 years, music, making an album, music videos, mixtapes, being in clubs, performing, performing at the Hard Rock Casino was still like my highlight of my life. Performing at the Hard Rock with Chopper from Making the Band. I had a music video with Paul Wall, Mike Jones, and Tony Ayo, and so many other people. Mike Clayton from the Bucks, T-Pain was in it. All this is difficult to talk about because all that hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, nightless, nights at the studio and all that, and everything that went into it, not including my actual lyrics, and then performing and stuff, it was wiped clean from the label, just wiped clean. Like a lot of anything that was basically on their budget was wiped clean. So it's not like I can talk about, and that's why you'll really ever hear me talk about shit that I'm talking about right now as far as the label. It goes with the story. That's the only reason why I'm mentioning it, because I'll never talk about it on the podcast. Because not only is it still, triggering, it's just it's sad to say. You can't, like, I don't have anything to back it up. Oh yeah, show me your proof that you did a video with this person and that, I don't have any proof. But I know I did it. It existed. There's actually a couple clips on YouTube that I can still find for you if you're interested. So that came to a head. And at the same time, my ex-boyfriend thing came to a head. No pun intended. And then by that time, I was ready to lose my mind. Because now I'm scared for my life. I'm looking over my shoulders. Now everybody, knows my situation. My secret is out. My boyfriend is cheating on me, for the third time, and disappeared. And I threw all the shit out in the parking lot, and this and this. And I was at a really, really low point. I started doing more downers because I wanted to not feel pain. So when I was with this guy that was cheating on me, the drugs that he would bring to the table was mainly like opiates, oxys when you can get like real oxys, Percocet, hydros, whatever. And I never really was a fan of them, but anything to block out or anything to numb, I wanted. So I would do those. But then I found out that I couldn't really function or do anything else. Like I couldn't work, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. Got fired from my job. And once I got fired from my job, it was the icing on the cake. It was icing on the cake because that to me was okay. Now I can go balls to the wall when it comes to my drug use. Now I can go balls to the wall. So a couple dating apps, they still existed at that time. We're talking like 2009, 2010. A couple of the apps that I found that I caught my ex cheating on me with, I decided to go on some of those. And I decided to go on some of those because I found out through the grapevine, I don't remember how I found this out, but I found out that you can look for specific drugs in these apps, like people that want to hook up, but they're doing certain drugs. There's like code word for it, and there's not even code word, just say it out in the open. Especially back then, it was really like that. You can still kind of, the thing is about addiction, if you want to find something, you'll find it. It doesn't matter if I'm in the middle of a farm town in Idaho or if I'm in Manhattan. It doesn't matter. It's either, if I'm in Manhattan and I don't want to use, I'm not going to use. If I'm in Manhattan and I'm in Idaho, I don't want to use, I'm not going to use. If I want to find something in Idaho, you best believe I'll find something. So, went on this app, and I found a couple of dating apps. I found a couple of sex parties in this app, and I was very interested. Sex parties, okay. Sounds good to me. When I got there, I found out what a couple of not the keywords, but a couple of the code words meant. And in my entire life of using drugs, marijuana, alcohol, cocaine, ecstasy, opiates, there was something that I never tried before, and that was crystal meth. I went to the sex party. I don't want to trigger anybody, so I'm not going to tell you too detailed. I'm not going to be too detailed. I went to the sex party for the first time, and it was really like one of those things like out of a documentary, like, hey, try this. No, I don't want to try it. Meanwhile, there's guys all around me having sex and whatnot. And I'm just like, well, I really don't want to. But where my life is at right now, and with losing my job, the icing on the cake, I was in a position where I would do anything. And after trying that led to a downward spiral that led me into the most dangerous places ever, made me do dangerous things, extremely dangerous things, made me do stuff that I never did with any other drug, put me in these situations that I can't even put into words how disgusting and how bad they were. Almost got killed a couple times. And with all that being said, also feeling like the best that I've ever felt in my life. Like it was an experience that human beings are not supposed to feel, especially when you make that transition from to. So once that drug has control of the steering wheel, you're going 100 miles per hour and you're not getting out, even if you wanted to jump out. There's no control after that, as they say. So that's scary as fuck. And it got me into some crazy situations. Luckily for about a year and a half. Couldn't take it anymore. Worst of the worst experiences. I had to go back up to New York. It's the only thing. That's my only option. Lost everything. Still getting threatened. You know, lost my apartment at that time. Got evicted. Lost my self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence. You know, everything that comes with it. And I thought in my mind, I have to go back up to New York because that's where I can get some help. And at least my family's up there. And also, a little side note, in my head, I was like, well, New York doesn't have crystal anyway. That's how naive I was. I don't think if I really actually believed it, but that's how naive I was. So I went up there, and by the time I was staying with my family, I found my drug of choice in like less than a week. Continued my downhill spiral for about 4 or 5 more months after that. The worst addict attitudes and behaviors, the worst, just addict mentality. All the dirtbag, scumbag, addict things that come with it. I pawned everything from my mom's house, stole money, pawned her wedding ring. Anything I could get my hands on, I pawned, including my stuff. I had no more stuff left. And then finally I had to go. And I finally realized at that time that this is something that is not going to just go away just because I move. I think I'm going to need some professional help. And it was like 2 nights before I even decided to get professional help, where I had my last possession, which was a little 10-inch, a little 10-inch laptop. Netbook is the word I'm looking for, like a little netbook, 10-inch. It's my communication to the world. And I wanted some Roxy's, and I wanted them now. And I found 10 minutes away that I can get these Roxy's. So I went to pawn my last possession. I got maybe, I think, $20. I came back, couldn't even get more than one. I got one of these pills. I came back to the house, and I crushed it into a line, and I snorted it. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what the fuck it was, but it was not a Roxy. It was like a homemade clay tablet that obviously worked because you sold me, because here I am, just a sweaty, disgusting addict, and I'll buy anything if you say that you had it. And it was wrapped in plastic and stuff, and, I trust this guy. I never met him once in my life, but I trust him. So not only was that like the most severe congestion ever and a severe headache, like the worst headache I ever had, and that took forever to even like come out of my nose. That was my last possession. I drove, I had my gas was on E, tank was on E, and I just snorted whatever this was. And I just stopped for a second, and it was like the world just slowed down, and I just said, you know what? I think I'm going to need rehab. So I went into rehab, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the first rehab that I went to, because of insurance reasons, it was only 3 weeks. But I learned a lot in 3 weeks. I learned about AA meetings. I learned about NA meetings. I learned about other people that had similar stories to me. We'd be in group and we'd be sharing some stories, and I'd be like, oh my God, I thought I was the only one that experienced that. Or I'm thinking that I had it, or I was in a really dark place, in a real dark, twisted place that nobody should ever be, which is still the case. But then I'd hear something else and I'd be like, oh my God, fuck. You know what I mean? But that was the first time that I felt like the unity, because there was people like me, there was people that were admitting that they had a problem, and they were admitting that they wanted and needed help. I met with a counselor before I left there, and she said, you've been using for, at that time it was like 15 years, whatever. She's like, you need more help than just these 3 weeks. This was a good jump start, but you need to go somewhere else. And I said, yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. So after spending a week in a homeless shelter waiting for a bed for this other place, I went to a halfway house. And that halfway house, although I relapsed plenty of times after that halfway house to this day it saved my life. It 100% saved my life. It really did. I met friends for life. I talk about it all the time. I met Nikki P in there, and we're like this. And there was a couple other people too from there that I still talk to, that I love dearly, even if we don't talk all the time, and I think about often. But we were a family in there. And I was in there for 9 months. This is not 3 weeks. This is 9 months. And we would go to program during the day, where I learned a lot. Big shouts to, well, I shouldn't even say it. Should I say it? Big shouts to Bridgeback. Fucking love you. Best counselor I ever had in my life was there. Changed my life. Changed my perspective on things. So we went to program from 9 to 1. And then we had chores, and then we had meetings, and then we had house meetings and stuff. And then we had an AA or an NA meeting at night. And then we had more chores, and then we just, chilled out and hung out and spent some time together as like a family would, because we just got that close. And there'd always be people in and out. There'd be people that are ready to move out, be people moving in. What an experience. I can't tell you how blessed and how grateful I am for that experience. And anytime I'm talking about my story, like I'm doing now in an AA meeting or an NA meeting or wherever, I can't say enough about that place. I truly can't. So my addict tendencies did not go away just because I was in a halfway house. If it was like being sneaky and shit, like you're not supposed to have a cell phone, I had a cell phone. You towards the end, like the last month, you weren't supposed to have a car. I had a car parked like in a strip mall, like down the road. Shit like that. But that's just how addicts are. Very manipulative, and you can't trust them at first and whatever. So I learned and I came a long way. But during that time, that's just how we were. So a lot of these meetings, a lot of the AA meetings, a lot of NA meetings, you're supposed to get a sponsor. You're supposed to get, you're supposed to do step work. You're supposed to, that's mainly it. Get a sponsor, step work, go to meetings, right? And that fellowship is really important too, because then you get to be really close with the people at the meetings, and it's the same type of camaraderie that it is with people at the halfway house. So that was all beautiful. That was a beautiful thing. But what they say is you should not get into a relationship, like a personal, relationship. You should not get into a relationship until after a year. You have to wait until you get a year clean and sober, and then you can get a relationship. Then you can go into a relationship, find a boyfriend or girlfriend. I did not do that. I was talking to somebody since I had my phone that I wasn't supposed to have, and met up with somebody, and we kind of had a good thing going because he was my sponsor, and he would come to the halfway house and pick me up, and we would go back to his place and just bang for 3 hours for my 3-hour pass and then come back. And that was our relationship. Now, he was in recovery too. It was, kind of a little twisted on his end because he didn't say, let's wait until a year. He wanted to dive right into it too while I was still in the halfway house. And then after that, we were in a relationship, and I would have never guessed in a million years that it was going to take it to the level that we took it. But we were together for the next 5 years. We were together for the next 5 years. I got out of the halfway house. When I got out of the halfway house, a year and a half total of sobriety. So I got out. I had probably like 10 months because I had 9 months and then 3 weeks in the rehab. So I had about 10 months clean and sober. And I was still with this guy. Just got a new apartment. And a year and a half, I relapsed. And let me tell you, that was the worst feeling in the world. When you have a year and a half after all that knowledge and after all that time and after all that work and after all that time in a halfway house and after all that time in in the rooms and meetings and talking to your sponsor and doing step work and all this shit, boom, lost it all. Year and a half. That was like a low blow from Mike Tyson. That was like, I felt it everywhere, not just mentally and emotionally and spiritually, physically. Like I physically felt pain. Like I could not believe myself. I couldn't believe that I did this. But I hopped right back on the horse. I'm like that boxer. I always say like that boxer that gets down in the 12th round. Like, do you just fall and stay down, or do you, try to pull yourself up? And my entire life, I've been pulling myself up. So I had a lot of encouragement, a lot of wisdom, a lot of the right people saying the right stuff. Because even though it was a year and a half, I didn't lose that experience, and I didn't lose that knowledge, and I didn't lose that time. That time frame, that segment of my life, that year and a half that I did not use, I still did not use in that year and a half. So that made me feel a little bit better. But at the same time, I just wanted to, I really wanted to give up just because it was like a year and a half. Oh my God, that's never going to happen again. But instead, I got back on the horse and I kept on fighting. And I was doing exactly what I was doing. But now I'm not in a halfway house. So now, I get a job, in a relationship. I'm trying to like maneuver real life stuff. And then I'm realizing that there's a lot of other stuff that I didn't touch on yet, that I didn't really work on as far as being in the halfway house or being in outpatient rehab or any rehab or whatever like that. And that was my mental illness and my mental health status. And because of that, because I didn't work on that directly and treat it like two different things, because they are two different things, even though they're fucking intertwined, I would have these episodes of either mania or some type of bipolar, whatever, or some type of, depression where I can't get out of bed for 3 days, or anxiety, paranoia, panic, all these things that I was experiencing that I was just like, damn, I'm starting to think like maybe because I was feeling like this, maybe this is why I started using drugs in the first place. Possibly. But I didn't really get a chance to think about that for too long. Because of work, because of relationship, because of, balancing friends and balancing life and balancing everything. So it was a struggle. And I moved around pretty often with this guy I was seeing. We moved around. I think in our 5-year relationship, we got, I want to say like 4 places or something like that. There was one time where we broke up. Because of a relapse. Got back together. Then there was just, some other bullshit, which I guess all really ties down to drugs and alcohol. But even if I wasn't using drugs and alcohol, it didn't matter because he didn't really know how to deal with my mental illness. And he definitely had a shit way of showing it. That's for sure. Like he was a compassionate, caring guy and stuff like that, but it wasn't when it came down to it and he couldn't help and he didn't know what to do, he was very like just cold and harsh with it. Even if he didn't even notice, that's how he was being. He was being like that, and that was my perspective on it. But we loved each other, we were in it for the long run. I actually proposed in 2015 or 16. So I really was serious about this. I really was serious, and he definitely was serious too, because he said yes and everything, and we had our little fairy tale life for a little bit, but it really didn't work out. A lot of reasons, and obviously he had his flaws, but obviously I had my flaws, and drugs and alcohol and using and relapsing was part of it. So like, going to a rehab during this relationship, and then it's like, let me try again, and then stealing meds at a job I was working at, where I was working with people with mental illness, believe it or not, and I was stealing their medications. True drug addict shit. And one night I was doing an overnight, and I took a little too many of their controlled substances in a lockbox. Took too many of them, and I was on the floor. One of the residents, I just laugh now because of how ridiculous it is. It was not funny at all. One of the residents found me, woke me up, and I actually had the balls to drive home. And when I drove home, I totaled my car and woke up like 2.5 days later in a psych ward. Thought I was in jail, but the door was open. I had a roommate, but the door was open, so I knew I wasn't in jail. And I found out I was in a psych ward. I was in the hospital the night before, which is like the ground floor, and then the psych ward is like the third floor or something. So with all this being said, I definitely put him through a lot, but at the same time, like, fuck him for a second. Like, this is real shit that I was going through. I was going through these different relapses. I was still struggling. I was going to rehab and struggling, and crashing my car and stealing meds from work. Like, I obviously was not. I was not where I wanted to be. I was going to say cured, but unfortunately you don't get cured in addiction. In sobriety, there's no such thing. You just work on it every single day, and it's one day at a time. And where in recovery, instead of inactive addiction, that's just all it is. There's no cure. I wish there was. Definitely wish there was. But anyway, that's a lot for him to take. We were living in Albany, and then for me, shit really started getting bad, because not only was I relapsing, I was staying relapsing. I was using. I wasn't just relapsing. I was relapsing and I was using. And then I found crack. I was doing crack for the first time, and I was doing meth with strangers, and I was like a fucking hot mess, and I was trying to keep it from him, but at the same time he knew, and then some of it he didn't know. And there was a couple times that I walked. It was like 6 a.m. I was walking home from a sexcapade, drug infused sexcapade, walking home because we were still living in the same place. And he was getting out, leaving to work. And I didn't want him to see me like that, because he knew what was going on. Even if we were, not technically in a relationship at that time, we were still living together. I didn't want him to see that. Really, really struggling at that time. Really bad. So I did what I know best to do, is that once we actually broke up, because he, for the final time, I think this was like the third or fourth time, for the final time we broke up, and I said, I know what to do now. Go balls to the wall again, because that's what I do when I get in breakups. So I went balls to the wall, and then I was still hiding it from my own sanity and hiding it from like my family and stuff, but I was still using the whole time and just lying about it. And the one time I had a celebration from getting 2 years, and it was just a crock of shit. And, my mom gave me a coin and stuff like that, and it was just a crock of shit. It was a crock of shit. I was lying. But that guilt and shame is crazy, right? Guilt and shame will take you to dark places. So we broke up, and, once again, I'm trying to get my shit together, but at the same time, I'm lying. And I forgot to mention that one of the rehabs that I went to, we had a family session, and it was like a family session with my sister and my mom where it was just like, never again will this happen. Don't worry. I'm going to be clean from now on, et cetera, et cetera. And that didn't happen. So that's what I'm talking about as far as the guilt and shame, because after that intense family session, it was like, there's no chance in hell that I can say anything different. So I have to just lie about it. And I will continue to lie about it, but I'll use sporadically here and there. So then I was living in another place, and I was living, in this place, thinking that, again, it's going to be a new start and everything's going to be fine and I'm not going to have a problem and I'm going to work on my sobriety. I actually went to, meetings like twice a week. I tried to get my shit back together, started working again, and again, never really paid attention to my mental health. So wouldn't you know it, soon enough, it was going to happen again. Guilt and shame was too strong, missing people that were in my life, not having the right support, or not feeling supported, or, not even playing the victim. I'm just saying, like, as far as like, it's easy to play the victim if you want to use. And I would just make up different excuses and stuff, but the guilt and shame definitely took it over the limit. And then I finally said something to my mom. I said I was using, and I can't believe that I'm actually saying this out loud, but it was a lie. I actually was using, blah, blah. So she had a breakdown, and my sister stopped talking to me. And the combination of both of those things is the only way I know how to deal with, is with more drugs. So I got some, and I was on a 3.5 day binge. Almost died. Can't believe that I didn't overdose. Still to this day, I can't believe that I did not overdose. Went to the hospital, went to the psych ward. And when I was in the psych ward that time, I said, this is it. This is it. If I continue on this path, I'm going to be dead, I'm going to be institutionalized, or I'm going to be in jail. The guilt and shame is too much. The agony towards my family is too much. Losing relationships that could have been something is too much. Friendships and relationships. It's just too much. So what I'm going to do is, now that I'm in the psych ward, is I'm going to start working on my mental health. And ladies and gentlemen, that was March 28th, 2019. March 28th. It was actually March 27th, but I was pumped up with drugs at that time on my 3-day binge, so I didn't count that day as a clean day. And I somehow went to sleep, first time all week, so I just crashed. My body just crashed. And when I woke up the next day, it was March 28th, 2019, and I said, never again. Never again. No matter what happens. I actually have that on my NMW. No matter what happens, no matter what, I'm not picking up another drug or a drink. And ladies and gentlemen, now I have the longest time clean that I've ever had in my life. An honest clean time of March 28th, 2022, which is now 3 years. The entire time from March 28th, 2019 until now, I'm not going to talk about, because that's really a different podcast. That's all about mental health shit and whatnot. But I can just tell you that I've been on a concoction of medications for that period of time. And some of them that didn't help, and some of them had horrible side effects, and some of them I'm still on now because they're helping so much. But regardless, it doesn't matter because, you know, some people are against medication, some people are against therapy, whatever. But the medication, the psychiatrist, and my therapy, the combination that I've had over these years is the reason why. On top of meetings, on top of talking to sober support, on top of doing my own, you know, meetings on intherooms.com. I had to do a lot of meetings virtually because of COVID and whatnot. So I really felt bad for up and coming people that are in recovery because they can't have that camaraderie and they can't go to meetings and they can't go to halfway houses. I don't even know how that worked out, but I'm just so grateful for everything. I'm just so grateful that I still have family in my life. I'm so grateful that I have people that I love in my life. I'm so grateful that I can be here to record this show. I'm so grateful for this podcast that's been running strong for 2 years. And I'm just so grateful for my health. I'm so grateful for, you know, work. I'm so grateful for people in my life, situations in my life, everything. I see it. I see the progress that I'm making, and I see everything around me starting to become something again. After of all the things that I've lost, I lost my car, my license, and people, and, you know, and friends and jobs and all these things. Slowly but surely, they're coming back. And, you know, for 3 years, I couldn't ask for anything better. I really couldn't. So thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I definitely, hopefully it touched somebody. You know, some of you might, I just peeled back some layers of the onion and now you know me more as just being a host of a podcast. And I'm not really, you know, that personal. I'm authentic and I'll tell you whatever you want to hear. And I don't lie and I'm definitely real. But I don't get this personal and this vulnerable. So hopefully you guys appreciated that. And at the same time, I'm really hoping that I touch somebody who's new in recovery or who's suffering or knows somebody who's suffering and, you know, just really understand that you are not in this alone. There's support everywhere, COVID or not. There's support everywhere. Go to intherooms.com. You know, you can hit me up, makesure@gmail. I'll help you out in a second if you want to just talk your shit or if you want to just say why you're struggling or whatever. makesure@gmail. Hit me up on IG. My Instagram is @makesure. Either way, regardless, we're all in this together, and I appreciate you guys so much. Until next time, have a great one. We'll see you. Till next week. Deuces.
This just in from Patient Zer0.
It's the science fiction in me because I love science fiction movies, and this is something out of a movie. I mean, when you watch his videos, you can't help but to feel like you're there with him. You're alone in these videos. Like,